Morning. It's Wednesday, September 15th. And yesterday in California, the recall election took place. Governor Newsom was under fire because of the heavy tax on his position with respect to the pandemic. He put some very strict mandates in place. That upset a lot of people, and that's what spurred the recall. Although I'm sure there were many other underlying reasons. But what bothered me in reading about this election is the position that the opposition took. Larry Elder, who is a conservative talk show host and the leading candidate on the Republican side to upset Newsom, has said he will not commit now to the results of this election. He is sure that there is going to be cheating, that Newsom can only win by cheating. Now, has this mantra, this cheating, this fraud, is that going to happen every time there's an election now? And Elder is not the only Republican who's worried about cheating. Many Republicans in the California situation are already calling fraud in the election. And they have no proof. These are baseless allegations. But you know what? The shape of this country, people believe this shit. Recalls are weird. Recall is a reflection of American politics in a nutshell. Recall is about Governor Newsom and the Republicans who are trying to unseat him. But it also contains much about COVID-19. And it's also a reflection of Donald Trump's takeover of the Republican Party. About the constant GOP chant of voter fraud. The voter fraud fabrications that deny the Democratic Party legitimacy and try to undercut democracy. It's the big lie. If you keep telling the big lie, eventually more and more people will believe it. So in California's version of the big lie, the right-wing media has started a stolen election storyline. They put forth the crazy idea that Democrats can only win in California by cheating. If there's a massive vote, by cheating. But are they crazy? California is a blue state, a dark blue state. So how could people even believe that the Democrats need to cheat in a state that's overwhelmingly Democrat? But they're out there pitching that nonsense, and people believe it. There are people who will believe it. And on top of the local politicians and the local Republicans who are yelling and screaming fraud, fraud, and using the Trump methodology, start screaming it long before the election so it's in the back of everybody's mind. On top of the locals doing this, we have Donald Trump jumping in by saying, does anybody really believe that a California recall election isn't rigged? This is like I lost the general election. This is the same thing. We're going through it in California. This is just another scam, he said. Well, hopefully Donald Trump didn't try to vote in California. That would have really been a scam, huh? Guy who ran away from New York and moved to Florida. The big picture. If we take into account everything that's been going on in this country for the last year and a half or so, we will recognize the fact that we do not have a Democratic Party in this country and a Republican Party in this country. What we have is a Democratic Party and an anti-Democratic Party. The opponents of the Democrats are trying to destroy our Constitution and trying to destroy our electoral norms. You can just see that going on all over the country in those states that have changed all their election laws drastically. When election should be a very simple process. You are a citizen. You live in a residence in the state. You can vote. That's all that we really need to know. And so when the Republicans rave about cheating and it gets into all the newsrooms, and the more sane newsrooms say there is no cheating, and then the debate begins over and over and over again. A constant barrage of cheating and fraud allegations. And when the saner newsroom, the newsrooms that are really out there prepared to tell the news, to tell the stories, no bias involved, are accused of having bias toward the fraud allegation. And when we look back over our history in this time, and just look back to November, and the 60-some-odd cases that Giuliani and Powell brought to the courts, and every one of them except one was thrown out. So if that didn't prove anything to the American public, I can tell you for sure because of that there are many in this country that are walking around with blinders. They don't see what's happening. They're afraid of everything. These are the people who don't think there was an insurrection. These are the people who think that it was just a tourist group at the Capitol on January 6th. And they don't believe that Donald Trump's words meant anything on that day. So we have election fraud. And we're going to have election fraud for a long, long time now, because it seems to be the mantra of a party that's struggling to maintain its place in this country. Unfortunately, we have pockets in this country of die-hard right-wingers, and then we have die-hard left-wingers. And I don't have a problem with the die-hards. I have a problem with the die-hards who refuse to recognize that there are other people in this country who disagree with them. And in order to make this country work properly, we all have to get together and aim at the same target. Right now, the target seems to be our electoral system and the fraud, the lies that are propagated about fraud. We've been voting in this country for 250 years. And have we seen any major frauds? No. But for some reason, we have a monster that created a myth, or maybe a myth that created a monster. And now we're going to see this every time we go to the polls. Every year there's going to be a fraud allegation, because there are many, 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 many out there who know their only chance of winning is to throw doubt in the minds of the voters. And they're going to do it. They're going to do it. And that's a shame. It's really, really, really a shame that we can't go to the polls with a clear mind, that we have to listen to all of this BS before it's time to vote even. But maybe I have a solution, because if we didn't broadcast, if we didn't tell the story that's being told, if all we said, there's a vote on election day, these are the candidates, and that's the end of it. No public appearance of candidate, no rally, no bullshit stories. Just one announcement, there's an election coming up, these are the candidates. And then maybe the day before an election you say, don't forget to vote tomorrow. But you know what? All this shit sells newspapers. All this stuff drives commercial TV. So that's never going to happen. So right now in California, Elder has declared Newsom the winner because of fraud. He set up a website to do that. And they have found fraud through a statistical analysis of the result. And the election wasn't even held yet when they found all this information out. So I leave you with that. I leave you with a country that's in desperate need of honesty and desperate need of searching for compromise. See you in the morning. And by the way, Newsom won the election. Bye.